The Internal Revenue Service is urging Americans to prepare for the 2025 tax filing season beginning next week. Taxpayers can start filing their forms on Monday, January 27th. The IRS says it's expecting 140 million Americans to file returns ahead of the April 15th federal deadline. Last year, roughly two-thirds of taxpayers got a refund, and the average amount refunded was $3,100. CBS News contributor J.D. Durkin joins us now. J.D., I was always told you don't want a refund. That basically meant you gave the government an interest-free loan, but I digress. What do people need to know ahead of filing?
I mean, it's amazing. We're already here this time of year. We all remember what Benjamin Franklin famously said, death and taxes. Well, at least focus on the second one for now. It's important to remember not a whole lot of substantive changes here, Lindsay, for the IRS this year in terms of the agency. A lot of the big expected changes could come this time next year if President Trump and the Republicans start to kind of continue to tweak the tax code. But I think it's important to recognize some of the key things that the IRS, the agency, has been stressing to taxpayers. If you're a low to moderate income earner, there are things like a volunteer income tax assistance or tax counseling for the elderly. Important to note, if your total gross income, in other words, your income before taxes is $84,000 or less, you're eligible to file for free electronically through what's called IRS Free File. Otherwise, the agency recommends tax software or going to a licensed professional. But security is the name of the game here. The IRS cautions all Americans, if you are going to trust someone else, make sure you do your due diligence and have a full understanding who you're turning over your very sensitive personal information to.
You mentioned President Trump. What changes are you expecting under the new administration?
Well, it's a lot of wait and see right now. But if we take the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which we can't forget was the first time the tax code got overhauled in a generation, if that's any guide, there's kind of a different menu of policy options for Republicans to consider. On the campaign trail, we heard President Trump, then candidate Trump, talk a lot about things like no taxes on tips, no taxes for overtime. But the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, puts a price tag of extending those tax cuts at more than $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years. That gets into the wonky congressional conversation of what are called pay-fors. In other words, how is Congress going to pay for those additional tax cuts? And there could be existing tax benefits that are considered on the chopping block for Republicans this year. Things like the mortgage home deduction or the American Opportunity Credit could be up for consideration as well.
J.D. Durkin, good to see you.
Thank you.